What happens when a worn-out waitress risks everything to help a shivering child and unknowingly catches the eye of a ruthless tech billionaire? Stay tuned to discover how one act of kindness turned her world upside down, from late-night diner shifts to boardroom battles, and an inspiring legacy you have to see to believe. The neon letters of Magnolia Diner buzzed in the downpour like a single steady heartbeat amid the storm's fury. Each raindrop pounded the cracked pavement of Magnolia Avenue in urgent staccatos, turning the sidewalk into a mirror of oil-slicked chaos. Streetlights flickered overhead, their dim halos unable to fully touch the weathered storefronts that flanked the diner. It was well past 11, and every rational sign pointed to closing time. Every sign that is except the one in Camilla Davis's heart. Inside, Camilla circled her rag over the last wooden booth, with deliberate care, the grain of the table gleaming beneath her fingertips. 12 hours of double shifts had left her muscles humming, with fatigue and sweat beaded along the nape of her neck, mingling with the faint scent of burnt coffee in her apron's pocket. Most evenings she would have turned off the lights, rung up her meager tips, and hurried home to a cold bed. Tonight, though, her eyes lingered on the glass pane, as if she were listening for a voice. A sudden streak of lightning set the street outside, alight for an instant, revealing a lone silhouette crouched just beyond the neon glow. The shape was small and hunched, as if the rain itself pressed it downward, begging for cover. Camilla felt a subtle pull in her chest, an unspoken insistence that whatever was out there was more important than any clock or policy. She paused, rag dripping in her hand. Some might say she risked her paycheck. She simply knew she risked nothing by doing what felt true. With a quiet steadiness, she set the rag aside, swept her hair from her face, and stepped toward the door. The bell above the frame tinkled a soft invitation, and the familiar rush of warm air mixed instantly with the damp chill of the storm. Camilla's boots hit the wet tile floor as she crossed the threshold. Every drop on her shoulders a reminder that kindness has no timetable. She flipped the closed sign to "Welcome" as gently as one might open a delicate flower, then squared her shoulders against the wind. Each footstep toward the diner's entrance felt like a promise to whoever waited on the other side. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Inside, the glow of incandescent bulbs wrapped the room in a soft embrace. The scent of toasted sourdough and lingering spice of yesterday's chili settled around her like a cloak. Camilla inhaled deeply and let that warmth fill her, banishing the chill from her bones. She glanced at the line of empty stools and polished counters, each one ready for a story yet to be told. And somewhere in that hush beneath the roar of thunder and the hush of falling rain, Camilla Davis recognized the truth she carried every day. Compassion doesn't clock out. No matter how long the night, no matter how heavy the storm, an open door and a willing heart could rewrite the coldest story into one of refuge and hope. With that resolution held close, she lifted her hand to pull someone inside, because kindness, she knew, was always worth the risk. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring your support. Let's me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. Camilla pushed the door open against the blast of wind, and the diner's warmth rushed out to envelope her like a soft blanket. She paused for a heartbeat, rain streaking her eyelashes before her eyes found him. Just beyond the neon halo, slumped in a rusted wheelchair, was a boy no older than 10. His dark curls plastered to his forehead, his thin frame hunched so low it seemed the storm itself might crush him. The tattered coat wrapped around his shoulders did little more than gather droplets at the seams. His blanket, frayed and threadbare, hung limply from his lap. Each shiver that ran through him was like a whispered plea for rescue. Camilla set her rag aside and hurried through the door. The bell's chime drowned by the storm's roar. She knelt in the puddle of light beside him, careful not to startle him further. Her voice was soft but steady, a quiet anchor in the chaos. "Hey there, sweetie! What are you doing out here all alone?" He jerked at the sound, flinching as if she'd appeared from a dream. His blue eyes, wide with cold and fear, met hers for a moment before darting away. Thunder rumbled overhead, and he pressed the blanket tighter, teeth chattering. "I'm waiting for my dad," he stammered, lips nearly numb. Camilla's chest tightened. She glanced down the silent street. No headlights, no footsteps. Only the neon stab of a pawn shop sign across the way. "Your dad?" she echoed gently. "Where is he supposed to be?" The boy's shrugged voice, so soft she almost missed it. "Just coming. I think. Rain sluiced down the diner's windows as if in answer, a relentless question with no reply. Camilla swallowed the knot in her throat. No child, she thought, should ever be left to wonder if someone will come back. With deliberate calm, she reached for the handles of his wheelchair. "Come on, let's get you someplace warm." He hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face, then nodded. Together, they stepped into the glow of the diner, leaving the storm's hush behind. Camilla slipped her arm behind his shoulders, squeezing gently. In her mind, she promised him no matter how long, the night no one would be left out in the cold. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the your support. Lets me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. Camilla guided Gabriel to a corner booth nestled beside the old radiator, its iron ribs humming a soft, reassuring warmth. The storm's chill clung to their clothes, but here heat pooled like sunlight through a winter window. She draped a fresh towel over his shoulders, its linen damp but friendly, and knelt low, so her voice floated at his level. "In here it's safe," she said, brushing a stray lock of wet hair from his forehead. As she spoke, the diner's familiar aromas embraced them. The tang of tomato bubbling in a ladle, the sweet promise of sourdough, freshly sliced. She could almost taste her grandmother's kitchen again, where comfort meant melted cheese stretching in golden ribbons. Moments later, Camilla placed a steaming bowl of tomato soup before him, its surface rippling with fragrant steam, and set down a grilled cheese sandwich that gleamed like molten gold. The bread butter kissed and crisp, contrasted with the soft, gooey cheese inside. Here she offered, "This one's on me." Gabriel's eyes widened as he lifted the sandwich, the cheese pulling into perfect, glistening strings. He took his first bite with reverent care, soup vapor curling around his smile. For a heartbeat, the diner was still broken only by the soft slurp of a spoon and the gentle crackle of the radiator. Watching him, Camilla felt a familiar ache bloom in her chest, the ache of seeing a child carry burdens far too heavy. Yet, in his wonder-filled gaze, she also sensed something new. Fragile hope lit by the simplest act of kindness, and in that warmth shared over soup and sandwich, the storm outside lost a little of its power. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the your support. Lets me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. Outside, the storm clawed at the diner's windows, but in the shadowed back seat of a midnight black sedan, Jonathan Pierce sat unmoved. The soft hiss of rain on sleek metal was the only thing louder than the acrid hum of his own thoughts. He watched Camilla Davis cradle a steaming bowl of soup for the boy he recognized as his son, Gabriel, her every gesture tending to his child's shivers, as if her own heart demanded it. Pierce's gray eyes, usually so sharp, they cut through boardroom facades flicked with something unfamiliar, curiosity laced with something like awe. Decades of building Pierce Industries on ruthless efficiency had taught him to value data over emotion, profit over pity. Yet, here was a living proof that a single act of warmth could disarm a child's fear more effectively than any algorithm. He leaned forward, gaze locked on Camilla's gentle assurance. What did she see in him that he'd never seen in himself? Why did her kindness unsettle the steel in his bones? The engine rumbled a warning. Pierce extracted a phone from his coat, thumbs moving almost automatically. "Harper?" he said. When his assistant answered with that crisp edge she knew meant urgency. "Magnolia Diner. No suits, no heels. I want a full dossier on Camilla Davis, past, present, whatever you can dig up. On my desk in 20. He ended the call and exhaled, fingertips drumming the leather armrest. As Gabriel's laugh flickered through the glass, bright and unguarded, Pierce realized that this debt of kindness, unrequested and uncalculated, was one he could not ignore. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring your support. Lets me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. The diner door burst open, slamming against a gust of wind, and in stepped a woman whose very poise seemed out of place amid the worn booths and warming radiator. She wore faded jeans and a hoodie, nothing flashy, yet carried herself like fine crystal. Every movement precise, every glance measured. A distressed baseball cap tucked her pale hair back, but her cool gray eyes studied Camilla and Gabriel with unerring focus. "Gabriel, sweetheart, time to go," she said, her voice silky, practiced too calm for this stormy hour. She crouched beside the boy in his wheelchair, curling a reassuring hand at his elbow. Gabriel looked up, confusion flickering in his blue eyes. The stranger called him by name. Camilla rose from her stool, the towel slipping from her hand. "You know him?" she asked quietly, stepping close. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring your support. Let's me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. The woman's smile tightened, never touching her eyes. "I'm his aunt," she replied smoothly. Camilla folded her arms, gaze steady. She watched as Gabriel's grip on the blanket faltered, the faintest tremor betraying his hesitation. Before anyone could speak again, Camilla reached behind her and produced a single foil-wrapped cookie. "For the road," she said, sliding it into Gabriel's small hand. His face brightened in gratitude. The woman's jaw tightened, but she made no protest, simply guided Gabriel toward the door wheels clicking over the tile. As they disappeared into the storm's roar, Camilla sensed she'd done more than offer comfort. She'd given Gabriel a small talisman of real care, one no polished promise could replace 04 Mini High. Camilla's sneakers squelched against the hallway carpet as she climbed the narrow stairs to her one-bedroom apartment. Each step a protest against bone-deep exhaustion. The storm still raged outside, its fury muted now, only by the thin walls that rattled at every gust. Inside the radiator wheezed half-heartedly more, a suggestion of warmth than a promise. She dropped her soaked jacket over a chair, the fabric dripping onto the ripped linoleum, and exhaled, letting the quiet settle around her like a heavy blanket. A sudden knock at the door shattered the lull. Camilla's heart stuttered visitors. This late meant trouble. She pressed her ear against the wood, listening. No voice, just the patter of rain cascading off the sill and the faint click of leather soles. Sweat trickled down her spine as she peered through the peephole. On the threshold stood a man tall, broad-shouldered, clad in a sleek black coat that looked as though it had been tailored for a boardroom, not a back alley walk in a downpour. His gray eyes were calm and measured, assessing her apartment with the practiced detachment of someone used to having the world bend at his command. Camilla's hand hovered over the deadbolt. "Who is it?" she called, voice steady. Even as her pulse quickened, he didn't shift. "You know my son," he replied, voice low and unhurried, her breath caught. Through the peephole she saw an envelope slide across the threshold, its edges catching a single dribble of rain. He waited, no sign of impatience, only that quiet demand for acknowledgement. "Don't know you," she whispered. Though her mind raced, he inclined his head. "I don't believe in charity," he said, "but I do in paying debts." Then, without another word, he turned and disappeared back into the storm. Camilla stared at the envelope as the door clicked shut behind her. The paper felt impossibly heavy in her hand, an unspoken promise of more than just money. She sank onto the edge of her bed, fingers grazing its seal. "I'll think about it," she murmured to the empty room, already knowing she had no choice but to accept. The night had stretched on, long enough now. It was her turn to pay a debt she never asked for. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring your support. Let's me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. Morning, light glinted off the towering glass facade of Pierce Industries as Camilla Davis paused on the polished marble steps, adjusting the thrift store heels that pinched her toes and polished blazer that still smelled faintly of last night's olfactory chaos. In the reflection of the revolving doors, she saw a lone figure determination etched on her damp face, heart thrumming faster than any alarm clock. Stepping into the lobby felt like crossing into another dimension, cascading waterfalls of glass chrome railings that caught every ray of sunlight and a floor so gleaming she half expected it to swallow her reflection whole. Men and women in bespoke suits and silk scarves drifted past like sharks circling a new prey, their eyes flicking over her with polite curiosity. "Ms. Davis," a receptionist's voice chimed from behind a sleek desk. She offered a laminated badge. Camilla tore her gaze away from the ceiling's chandelier art installation and slipped it on, heart stuttering at the weight of that small plastic rectangle. She navigated the corridors, each footstep echoing in the hush of high-ceilinged halls. Somewhere up ahead, Jonathan Pierce's office awaited, a glass-walled sanctum overlooking the city's waking bustle. At precisely 9:02 a.m., she paused outside the door, straightened her shoulders, and tapped once. Inside, Pierce rose from behind a desk that gleamed with sterile perfection, His gray eyes tracked her entrance without a hint of warmth. "You're 2 minutes late," he stated, voice cool enough to chill the sunlit air. Camilla lifted her chin steady. "Traffic," she replied, each syllable crisp and anchor thrown into unfamiliar seas. Before Pierce could reply, Harper slipped in behind her, tablet in hand and businesslike smile in place. "Welcome to Pierce Industries," she said, a voice that could slice through tension. Her gaze lingered on Camilla's thrift store heels and confident posture, equal parts evaluation and veiled warning. Camilla returned the look without flinching. The elevator dinged softly in the hall beyond, but here in this glass-encased arena of power, she understood she was the anomaly, the newcomer, the underdog. Yet somewhere beneath her nerves, a steady flame of resolve burned. Today she decided she wouldn't just exist in this world. She'd make it reckon with her presence. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and ring your support. Lets me keep crafting more touching, meaningful tales just for you. Thank you for being here. The conference room's doors slid open on silent tracks, revealing a long mahogany table polished to a mirror finish. 3 men in tailored suits sat waiting each. A veteran in the art of offshoring, sharply creased trousers, expensive cufflinks, and the kind of half-smirks that suggested they had already won. At their head was Philip Langford. Silver hair slicked back, arrogance practically radiating from his posture. Camilla took a steadying breath and crossed the threshold, the soles of her thrift store heels clicking softly against the marble floor. Jonathan Pierce sat to her left, expression as inscrutable as ever. Langford began without ceremony. "Moving production to Taiwan cuts labor costs by 40%, he said, voice smooth as oil. "Efficiency, scalability. This is the future." The men nodded, pens poised over their notepads. Camilla let Langford finish, then lifted her own packet of analysis. The table fell silent at the faint rustle of paper. With calm precision, she slid her market impact breakdown across the table. Graphs forecasting rising labor demands, case studies of PR disasters when beloved brands abandon local communities, and a cost projection showing hidden expenses ballooning 5-fold within 3 years. She leaned forward, voice even. "Your short-term savings are real," she acknowledged. "But consider this: when local backlash forces you to rebuild your supply chain, you'll spend millions on restructuring, on lawsuits, and on repairing a reputation you took for granted." Langford's smile faltered as he scanned the figures. Pierce exchanged a subtle glance with Camilla, just a barely perceptible nod that spoke volumes. In that instant, she knew she had shifted the room's gravity. The underdog had not only been heard, she had rewritten the rulebook. 2 months into her tenure, Camilla's victory still shimmered in that boardroom, but triumph can turn on a dime. One morning, Harper intercepted her before she reached Jonathan's office, eyes urgent. "We have a problem," she whispered, sliding across a printed email thread, stamped confidential. Camilla's breath caught the internal memo leaking. Pierce Industries' strategic financials bore her name as the sender. Within the hour, she stood before the full board in the very same oak-paneled room where she'd first proved her mettle. Dozens of suited faces turned their expressions a flicker of doubt and accusation. Jonathan sat at the head, elbows on the table, gray gaze fixed on her. The air felt suddenly thicker than marble. Camilla's heart thundered, but she squared her shoulders and met each gaze in turn. "I didn't do this," she began, voice measured but firm. "I was the easiest target, new hire outsider, someone you could pin everything on." Murmurs rippled like wind through autumn leaves. Later, working side by side with Harper through the night, Camilla traced digital breadcrumbs, server logs, masked IPs, a secondary account. By dawn, they had their culprit, Edward Shaw, a tenured executive whose fingerprints lay on every forged trail. The board reconvened at sunrise. Camilla strode in with the evidence folder held tight to her chest. As she laid out call logs, email headers, and time-stamped bank transfers, the room pivoted from suspicion to stunned silence. Shaw's attempt to protest died on his lips. When Jonathan rose, voice cold steel. "Effective immediately, Edward Shaw is terminated. Legal action follows." Camilla felt a rush of vindication flood through her, the outsider. Weeks later, on a bright spring morning that felt impossibly gentle after so many storms, Camilla Davis stood just off the stage at Magnolia High's commencement ceremony. The gymnasium buzzed with proud families, mortar boards bobbing like colorful blossoms. Gabriel sat beside her in his wheelchair cap, perched at a jaunty angle diploma, clutched in white-knuckled hands. When his name was called, he rolled forward with the confidence of someone who'd already overcome more than most. "I told you I'd make it," he said afterward, grin splitting his face as Camilla ruffled his hair. His eyes, steady bright, held a promise that neither rain nor fear could dim. From the front row, Jonathan Pierce watched too, his usual inscrutable mask softened by something like pride. He caught Camilla's eye and gave the faintest nod. Acknowledgement that kindness once given can grow into something far greater than either of them had ever imagined. Years passed, and the memory of that stormy night at Magnolia Diner became legend in Pierce Industries. Camilla's name, no longer just the new hire, gleamed on a polished plaque. Vice President of Corporate Strategy. Behind her office door, floor-to-ceiling windows framed a city she'd helped reshape. Under her leadership, the company launched ethical labor initiatives, invested in local manufacturers, and built mentorship programs for underserved youth. The ones who, like Gabriel, once sat unnoticed in the rain. Outside the Carter Pierce Community Center opened its doors with a ribbon cutting festooned in balloons. Gabriel, now a college freshman studying social work, stood beside Camilla, handing out programs to eager children. Their laughter echoed beneath the newly painted archway, a testament to every small decision that had rippled outward, a towel draped over shivering shoulders, a bowl of soup, a cookie for the road. Camilla paused, hand on the cool brick wall, and let the morning sun warm her face. In her pocket rested a pressed flower from that first day, damp and delicate but preserved against all odds. She smiled, knowing that a single act of compassion can seed an entire forest of hope. And in that moment, legacy wasn't a title or a foundation's name. It was every life lifted, every door opened, and every heart that dared to believe in the power of kindness.